Well, it's another day out here in the garage. I'm still waiting for the bolts for the flywheel and transmission and clutch plate. So, I have decided that I need to move on to something else, which will be getting the Malwood USA hydraulic clutch assembly up under the dash. And to do that, I will show that part when I get ready to put it in. Wonderful company to work for. Talk to Sherry, she'll fix you right up. I decided the easiest way to do it is just to get that front seat out. Now the front seat bolts up from the bottom with 4 bolts, 4 nuts on studs, I'm assuming. So I'm going to try to find the right size socket that fits on that. So that means crawling under the car. So now the old man's got to crawl up under there. I got my yoga mat. Definitely get something like that when you got to crawl around on the ground or on your knees. Protect your knees. You don't want to have knee operations, believe me, from kneeling on concrete and rough floors. So, actually, close the door. And I'm going to need a deep socket. So let's weigh the frig up in there. It's probably about a 9/16 from what I can feel. Yep, ½ inch. All right. Wasn't that fun? Yeah, those were recessed way up in there. So here's what I got from Malwood. Now, I was looking all over at different kits that would fit in a 67 Mustang without a lot of problems, but the problem being that my car has a power booster for brakes. Sits right in front of the pedal clutch assembly. Some of the underdash kits that you get, they don't include the pedal. That's why this one was more expensive, because it has a new pedal. But the beauty of it is the master cylinder stays under the dash, and all that goes through the dash is your little AN3 hose. And that's good because on a lot of the kits for these cars, you can't use them if you have power brakes. Well, power disc brakes was a huge improvement for this car, safety-wise, ease of driving. So, all I got to do, quote unquote, is get up under the dash and pull out the big pin that mounts the existing brake clutch pedal. Drop that out. This boy goes back in, and they supplied all the new appropriate pins and bushings. I'll have to look at them and see exactly how they are installed, and of course there's new sleeve bushings, so the bolts nice and smooth. And the AN3 hose that goes down, nice little sticker for the company. Another AN3 hose that will come out, and of course it's going to loop right out through the dash and right down to the bell housing, which is going to be right below the pedals. So this should be plenty long enough. Plus, I got their amazing Cherry brand hydraulic throwout bearing. So you mount this on a special mount that keeps it from rotating. You put this on the top because this is the bleeder, so you get the air bubbles out. And you attach your AN3 from that through the side of the bell housing where the pedal would normally go through the lever. And this little baby just expands and pushes the clutch for you. So I have to do some measurements. That's why I'm waiting for the bolts for the clutch and stuff, because I don't want to take it apart twice. So, hydraulic throwout bearing, hydraulic system. Now this has a beautiful billet reservoir for that, which I'm hoping I can mount somewhere under the dash on the firewall. I see a place, and I think these two hoses will come right out through the old hole. And I'm going to mount the billet reservoir right up here on the firewall somewhere with a couple of quick zippy screws. And it just has to be higher than the pedal reservoir, so it'll run downhill. And once it's bled, it shouldn't be any trouble anyway. Alright, because this hose here will be full of fluid all the way down. And as the clutch wears, it actually comes out farther, so it pushes back on this if it starts running against it, which you don't want it to. So we got to leave about 1/8 of an inch clearance between this bearing and the front of the clutch fingers, but that'll be a different story. Let's just get this pedal put in. Isn't that nice? So look at that thing. Malwood, you're the bomb. You saved my butt on this one. But first, we got to get under there and see what we got. And you won't be able to see me work in there. You have to crawl up under the dash, pop some pins out, slide the pin out of the... I'll try to get you in there if I can find some light and such, and show you how the pins come out, but it's really impossible. It's very, very tight. Okay, this is going to be very close and tight for you to see, but you see the yellow-green clip? This is up under the dash at the top right side of the assembly, and that's the... I actually had to put a new brake pedal because I put power brakes. I got to pop that pin out and the whole clutch assembly will slide out to the left. And I have to disconnect the clutch rod from it with another little clip over here if you can see it. But that's all I got for you. Well, I had some success finally getting that pedal out of there. You had to pull that green pin out that I showed you and pull the pedal to the left. Well, pulling the pedal to the left, there was a lot of stuff in the way. But after some due diligence, I had to release the parking brake handle from the bottom of the dash, and I had to loosen up the cable from the air vent, fresh air duct intake, so I could move that around out of the way. And once I got that out of the way, I was able to wobble it out. So now this guy has got to go back up in. I'm trying to decide whether I need to put... Here's my... I think I'm just going to use this boot as the grommet around these two hoses that got to come out. So I'm going to cut this back about here. Well, it's ripped anyway. And put this back in the hole. It looks like it's alright. I'll probably put it in with some RTV or something. And then after we get the hoses through, we will goop it up with something. Alright. Well, it's the next day, but I just wanted to show you guys what we got going on here. Having spent a good part of the day underneath the car, hold on. Going in, I'm going to try to show you what I had to do. Now, that's the parking brake. Now you can see the top of that Malwood. There's the master cylinder on it. And as you come forward, there's I still can't, I'm having a hard time making out where I'm at. Okay, through the side of that goes into a pin that goes through the old hole for the brake pedal and the clutch pedal. But anyway, I had to whittle away on the side of the bracket because the way it was to mount, it has a tab with a bolt that goes up through from the bottom through the old brake stop. And you can see, oh yeah, there it is. You might be able to see it. Yeah, you see that gold bolt right in the center? Well, there's a tab that sticks out on the side of the assembly. You can see the master cylinder shaft there. That's just the speaker wire hanging in front of it. And it's on to the edge of the whole pedal bracket. Well, the flange on the edge of the pedal bracket stuck out. It was too big and wouldn't allow the master cylinder part, the whole Malwood assembly, to pull up tight against it. So I finally ended up, I went over to the Harbor Freight and bought a die grinder and carbide burr bits, and I whittled away at that flange until I could get it to fit in there right. And I was able to get that bolt in there to tighten it down, but it's finally in there. And I'm calling it done. And the only other thing I have to do is I took out, there used to be a vent right in here. Well, you can see where it goes up inside here, air intake from the cowl. And it was never closing right. So, what had happened is the bracket that was mounted on the side of the vent that mounted the base of the cable so it would open and close. As you can see, if I push on it here, it opens. It actually activates pretty difficultly, but if you push on it, it's alright. That keeps the cold air from blasting in, and when you're driving around in the fall and spring when it's colder at night after the drive-in or something. So, it was a SOB to get that out because I had to use a couple of long extensions. So I'm going to try to get that back up in there. It came with these stamped steel nuts that have like rubber on them to make them vibration proof. These things. So there was only 2 on it, but I found 2 more 7/16 nuts, and if I can get them on, I'm going to put them on. If I can't, it works fine with 2. So that's what I'm going to do now. You won't be able to see me do anything up in there. I can barely get in there. As I said, taking the seat out helped. But I still have to lay on my back with my head over there by the clutch pedal, gas pedal, and try to see up in there. So, alright. We're going to let you go. We'll be back when it's done. You don't want to hear all the cursing and swearing anyway. Just to show you what I'm into, you can see that kind of like grill work duct there. That's 8 or 10 inches long. Has a flange at the top that has to slip over some studs way the heck up in there. So you can see why I can't really show you how I did it. There's 4 studs that are sticking down though. And what I'm doing is taking well, you can see I got the socket wrench leaning up in there. 2 6-inch extension socket with a 7/16 socket on it, and 2 of the nuts have a flange on them like a washer, so those won't fall into it. But for the ones that will fall into it, I've packed the socket with some paper towel so that when I push it up against the stud and rotate it, it'll kind of like self-center and hopefully get onto the threads right, and we'll be able to drive those up on, because when I took it out it only had 2 on it, so I'm going to try to get all 4 back on it. But that's what I'm dealing with, and it's hot and sweaty today. Maybe I should get a fan under here. My glasses keep fogging. All right, we'll see you.